Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. I've only got 3 articles today, but as always, I think they're extra interesting. Fascinating to see where the world is going. So, what we do with Bible prophecy, with the words of scriptures, we look at them and we kind of use them as a template and overlay the events of the day and say, are those days here? Are they yet future? And what patterns and what indicators are that we are on that path to the soon return of the Lord. And there's just a number of things. And of course, you see my timeline of the return of the Lord. And I have a number of things on there. And it could change. Maybe Gog Magog doesn't happen before the 7-year period. I think there needs to be some significant upheaval and significant war before the world allows a one world leader, an Antichrist figure, and allows a one world government and allows a new fiat currency, new worldwide fiat currency. That being said, maybe the specific Gog Magog war doesn't happen until the end of the millennial reign of Christ, and that could be. But others believe there's a dual fulfillment there. But there are, just a lot of things that could very well be on the timeline, and as we move through that timeline, we can kind of see things happening seemingly very fast, and also things that you would expect to occur prior to the 7-year period to set up the world to accept the mark, to set the world to accept the world leader. And that this COVID thing, this is very significant because this is one of those things that really does set up the world and kind of forces us into a place of having to rethink our current situation, our current civilization, our current governments, our current security system. In the U.S., they're defunding police. They're calling to get rid of police forces. And what are police chiefs saying now? They're saying, you talk to any policeman in the U.S. and they're thinking twice about staying on the force. Maybe they'll look at early retirement or whatever, but they don't want to deal with the backlash, the garbage that they have to deal with, the lack of respect, the danger in their job, and they're looking at quitting. So you take a look at a world that needs a world leader and needs a world government to fix all this stuff, and you have the situation arise out of the pandemic, and I think it's absolutely incredible. This is an article from Debka.com, military intelligence reporting website, and they're looking at a second wave, and this is what everybody's kind of feared. The 1918 Spanish flu. It wasn't the first wave that got them hard. The second wave came and was 5 or 6 times more significant than the first wave. And then the second wave killed about 5 or 6 times more people than did the first wave. And we went through the first wave, and we're coming upon the second wave now. So now some had speculated that it's going to be in November, fall period when it hits. But now the people in the know are expecting it to come earlier, summer sometime, because all the openings of the states and the provinces, of course, and then all these riots have also added to a new spike in infections. And as summer rolls around, the sun comes out, people get to the beaches, get outside doing things. They aren't going to want to be stuck in their houses. So it's kind of a perfect time to get people mingling again and get this virus going. And if people aren't careful, it could really take off in a second wave. It says, although the immediate cause differs from place to place, coronavirus' second assault is already here. No waiting from the winter as widely predicted. The World Health Organization earlier this week declared the world a long way from safety. Global infection rates currently stand at 7.5 million cases. Brazil. So there's various nations that are just taking off right now. Brazil, India, various countries like that haven't even seen the peak of their first wave yet. Brazil fast rising death toll has reached 41,000, overtaking Britain as the second highest in the world, second only to the U.S. So this is a big deal. Second wave is coming, and I think it's going to hit hard, especially in my province where there hasn't been. I think there's been maybe 15 or 20 people who had it, so we haven't really tasted the coronavirus. We've just been all secluded. We haven't had it. Our bodies haven't had a chance to experience this. They haven't had a chance to move some people through the hospital to become immune to it. we've kind of closed ourselves off from it and not given our bodies or our society, the people on the island, people here, a chance to get the virus and get immune to it. So it's going to hit us really hard when it does come this second time. And this is what I would be more worried about. So it's significant second wave coming, and they're calling for it this summer. We're going to see what happens. But again, this is really moving us very quickly to full tracing and control. They know where you are. They're contact tracing. We now are fully accustomed to the idea of the government tracking our every move because it's in the name of public health and safety. So did you see that one coming? Did you see the mark of the beast being rolled out in the name of public health and safety because of COVID-19? You probably didn't. And again, for our Bible prophecy watchers, you look at this and say, who saw that coming? What better way to get the public ready and indeed move them towards full government tracking and tracing. And that's what the mark of the beast ultimately will be. It's going to prevent you from buying and selling unless you have that mark, unless you worship the beast. Incredible stuff. All right, let's look at the second thing here. This is why we are facing a 6-week countdown to immense economic despair. And I would add a famine, and pestilence, all this combining world economic collapse. This is from the economiccollapseblog.com. Many of the emergency economic measures that were put in place to support the American people financially through the pandemic are about to disappear. So all the free government money, that's about to stop. Right now we are in the midst of the deepest economic downturn since the Great Depression. Economic activity has dramatically fallen. More than 100,000 businesses have permanently closed. All those workers are out of work. This is bad. This escalates. The only reason we haven't seen the pain from the economic downturn is because the government has been paying people's wages. As soon as the government stops, look out, folks. There's going to be a wave of bankruptcies. People, getting their cars towed away back to the car lot because they can't pay the lease on their car. Like I say, people losing houses. People, massive numbers of people going to the food bank. Etc. It's going to be very significant hardship. It says, unfortunately, the short-term boost in artificial relief through government money is about to wear off, and that is going to cause some major problems as we approach the end of the calendar year. It's all coming down. The U.S. economy right now is like a jumbo jet that's in a steady glide after both engines flamed out. In about 6 weeks, it will likely crash into the side of the mountain. I'll put this link in the description. You guys can read this, but this is a big deal, and I think this is very significant. What's kept us in the air so far is an extraordinary government relief effort. In most states, evictions have been temporarily banned, so evictions from houses, preventing mass homelessness crisis. Most federal student loan payments have been put on hold. So as soon as they're not on hold anymore, what jobs are those students going to have to return to at this point? There's not a lot out there. A lot of businesses closing. A lot of those jobs. Now there's a lot more people looking for that same smaller pot of jobs. And in a lot of places, there's no tourism. So if you live in a province or state that's big on tourism, none of those jobs are coming back because of the lockdowns. Banks were ordered to give their customers 6-month break on mortgage payments if requested. So if those people still don't have jobs, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage, and the banks are going to take their houses and evict them. Most importantly and counterintuitively, household income sharply increased in April as hundreds of billions of dollars in lost wages were replaced by trillions in government spending. So the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada have been basically propping up everybody, paying everybody's wages for the last 2 months, and when that stops, when easy money stops, people are going to be left, and then we will feel the pain. We haven't felt the pain yet because of all the free money. The pain will start hitting, and despair, homelessness. The crisis really begins when the government stops paying that easy, free money. It's like pulling the rug out from under the economy, the people of the country, and we're going to see real hard times. More than 20 million people unemployed, and they were getting extra $600 a week in federal unemployment benefits. The result, according to Bloomberg, was the largest monthly increase over that period ever recorded. So you go from this increase and people are spending like crazy, and then just pulling the rug out from under them where they're getting less than they're used to, and you're going to have riots, you're going to have civil unrest, you're going to have people just going crazy because they can't handle that. And so either the government keeps paying it out of what? Out of thin air, or we have again another massive trigger point for absolute economic collapse and chaos. And I think that's what's coming. How else do people deal with this when they're desperate? They're gonna break the law when they're desperate. They're trying to feed their families, etc. Or they're just upset about injustice and they don't have a job, so of course they go to a protest, right? And I'm not saying that's all the reason for the protest, but again, when you don't have jobs, when you don't have anything else to do, if you can't make money, then you're probably loitering around and you're looking for something to do, and that may end up causing trouble, may end up resulting in some of these riots and this whole autonomous zone where people are just they got nothing better to do, they're just hanging out there and causing trouble. And it's incredible. And then you have the police forces looking to resign. All right, so I will put that link in the description. Read the whole thing. It's significant. This is coming. I've been warning about this. It's been on my timeline forever. If you haven't prepared yet, there's still time. Everything is awesome right now. As long as the government's doling out money, free money out of thin air, everything is awesome. Once they pull that free money train out from under our feet, look out. People will start falling down. Houses will start going back to banks. There'll be massive homelessness and bankruptcies and businesses collapsing. And that will lead into the famine of the fall period. So incredible times. I would venture to say near Mad Max sorts of times that we're looking at ahead of us. Peace plan. BreakingIsraelNews.com. Sanhedrin decision pertaining to Trump's deal of the century. The Sanhedrin released a soon-to-be enacted peace plan proposed by Trump. Released a statement on the soon-to-be released, officially titled Peace to Prosperity. It says the plan opened the way for Prime Minister Netanyahu to announce his plans to annex the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria. So they're looking at implementing this. The Sanhedrin's official statement started with an open with a prayer of thanksgiving to God of Israel and the Master of the world. We thank God for a positive change in the attitude of America's leader, Trump, towards the people. The Sanhedrin noted Trump's most significant accomplishments, which were recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, transferring the American embassy. All these things, I think, led to the U.S. really being blessed and the judgment being pushed off. Trump's declaration that the Golan is a sovereign part of the state of Israel. The declaration by Secretary of State Pompeo, which stated that the State Department's opinion established in 1978 is null and void now that the official U.S. policy is that Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria are legal under international law. So this is part of what they're recognizing as the good things that Trump has done towards Israel. Now, Trump is no perfect person. He is a sinner just like everybody else. But I don't think you can deny he is doing some good things, recognizing Israel. It goes on here. Let's see. Let me scroll down here. We congratulate the American leader. You can't see that. Let me scroll up here. We congratulate the American leader, Trump, for not failing and being punished like the British, who divided the land of Israel and were punished by the disintegration of the British Empire to shreds. So they're saying, Trump, because he has recognized Israel and continues to support Israel, his country is not being torn apart. He has been blessed. Those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. I did a video about that, which came from Abram in the book of Genesis, and where that whole understanding, those who curse Israel will be cursed, and those who bless Israel will be blessed. Did a whole video about that. So search for that on my channel if you want to understand the origins of that statement. And really the understanding of that and why that applies. It's interesting. But he is saying, the downfall of Britain as the world superpower and the British Empire is because they stopped supporting Israel. Now, what do we see in the last days? We see last days text in the Bible referring to a time when the U.S. doesn't really exist as a significant world power. They're certainly not mentioned. If they're the greatest superpower in the history of the world, you would think that God would put their name, United States, or refer to them in some manner in the last days. And I don't believe there's a significant reference to them. So why is that? And it looks like the United States right now is supporting Israel significantly. Trump is supporting Israel significantly and seemingly being blessed. But I think that time is about to expire. And, stuff is about to get real bad. So what causes that? Does Trump's real peace plan end up dividing Israel? Some have said it does indeed ultimately end up dividing Israel in terms of making deals with the Palestinians, although those are good parts of it with this annexation of Judea and Samaria. As Sanhedrin of Israel, we will gladly consider any program that a world leader suggests if it is in accordance with the Torah. Therefore, in the program as proposed by the presidents of the U.S., we accept the application of Jewish sovereignty insofar as it does not oblige us to abandon our rights and obligations pertaining to the land of Israel according to the borders set out in the divine promise recorded in the Torah. Therefore, the government of Israel is obligated to accept sovereignty over all the territories of Israel within the borders described in the Torah. So the Sanhedrin is now behind at least this part of the peace plan, Trump's peace plan. So I think it's significant. I don't think Netanyahu is looking to push forward with pieces of this July 1st. And it's gonna be interesting to see if this bodes well or bodes badly, and if this ends up dividing the land of Israel, which I think in a way it will, because effectively it gives the Palestinians a state. It doesn't give Israel all its land back. So I think I would use the words "look out" when they really start pushing forward with this. This will be the timing of this. Will match up with the downfall of the U.S. as the world superpower. And I think that's in progress right now. The U.S. is collapsing internally. Civil war, civil unrest, social chaos. And that's what we see happening in the big cities in the U.S. So, 3 significant articles. I think we are heading full speed. In terms of Bible prophecy, we're already in it. We're marching towards the 7-year period, the revealing, or at least the introduction of the Antichrist, not the revealing to the world of the Antichrist, but the introduction, that the 7-year period. We are on the way. Israel is moving ahead prophetically. The U.S. is moving ahead prophetically, I believe. I think what's happening in the U.S. Is all being added and adds up to the downfall of the U.S., and that's why they're not described in Bible prophecy. That's why in Ezekiel 38 and 39, there is no United States ready to back up Israel. That's why God has to back them up in that war. He will show his power, and that's really the purpose of it. So God has a chance to show his power, and so that the Jewish people will turn back to him, recognize him as Messiah. So thanks for watching, folks. I will leave it there. Pretty fascinating stuff. As we march into the summer, look for that second wave of COVID. And that's going to be a big deal. That's going to shape the history of the world. And I think it's going to catapult us into end-time Bible prophecy because I've always said the economy will catapult us, and it has. And this pandemic is part of that as well, as I understand it, as I now see it. And the economic collapse happened in March. We don't feel it because the government is printing money out of thin air, increasing public debt hand over fist. And so we are slowly being catapulted, if that's a term, into end-time Bible prophecy. And I think it's really going to start speeding up as we head into summer and fall period. Look out, look up, for your redemption draws nigh. But things are going to get hard very fast, so be prepared. Just like you needed to be prepared for the pandemic, be prepared for even harder times, famine coming. Even the UN is declaring world famine this fall period. That's when the pain's going to start hitting for that. So be prepared. You should have got your gardens ready. we may not be raptured out. We may see some of this tribulation, some of these hard times, and I think indeed we will. We won't see the wrath of God, but we will see hard times, and certainly we'll see persecution. Thanks for watching, folks. I will leave there, and we'll see you guys in the next video.